CEO and co-founder. There is a lot of news here in Rhode Island. Let's jump over to our friends at Mott Chace. Ben Scungio joins us today. Ben, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me again, Josh.
All right, let's jump to it. You've got a new report out. The numbers from December are flying. Walk us through it a little bit.
Yeah, so a lot of interesting information here. Probably not our 10 to 15 minute conversation. We can unpack it all, but we're going to do our best. I think one of the most interesting numbers is that our median sold price has dropped below $400,000 from December last year to December this year to $390,000. And as I mentioned last week, we still don't have enough inventory. 1.3 months worth of inventory compared to versus 2.3 months compared to last year. So there was actually more to choose from last year than this year.
Yeah, that dip down in the median single family price is the first time it's been down under 400, I think, for about 6 months. It was, sure. I want to say 411 in November, but it's just been bouncing around, right? This sort of high threes, low fours. I don't see it as a major, quote, correction. Do you?
I don't. We've talked about this previously. I thought one of the big influencing factors to getting above $400,000 was that the state had so many super high-end luxury sales, $10, $15 million. Those have certainly subsided last year compared to what they were in 2021. I'm not saying that sales, that pool of people buying is totally dead. I'm just saying it's subsided from what it used to be. And I thought that had a huge influence because obviously here in Providence, we're not selling many $10 to $15 million houses. Those happen down in Newport. But I thought that had a huge factor. That was a huge factor in the dramatic increase in the average median sales price.
And Donna sells a lot of them down in Watch Hill as well. That year over year, December of last year to December of this year, the biggest changeover is inventory dropped by more than a quarter. Okay, it makes a little bit of sense, but it really doesn't make any sense. We're coming out of COVID for the most part. Sure. We're returning to levels of normalcy. Is this all just because of interest rates that people are holding on to what they own and aren't putting it on the market because they don't know where to move? Yeah,
it certainly could be. I mean, inventory year over year down almost 27%, pending sales down 15%, number of closed units down 42% year over year. It's also that time of year where there's not a lot of transacting. And if you looked at December, I remember, we were chatting at this time last year. The market was full steam ahead in December of 2021. It was still extremely busy. It felt like, the spring market carried from the spring until
right.
January of 2022. So in the rates were still, in the twos and in the threes. So this is a slow time of year. So in general, in Rhode Island, the cold, we don't have a lot of snow yet, but when the snow hits, it could get even slower. So it's not surprising to see these numbers versus, 2021 was an anomaly. So it's hard we look at these numbers and they're dramatic, the changes are dramatic, but it's, we have to just keep, reminding ourselves that 2021 was an anomaly year with interest rates that were beyond historically low.
So you can delay buying or selling for a period of time, but then the reality comes, right? We need to downsize, we're retiring, we need that income, we don't need the size house, we just went through the most expensive heating winter of all time, whatever the factor is on the selling side. On the buying side, yeah, I don't love the interest rates, but we're pregnant with our 17th child, we need to expand our footprint. Do we see kind of a back to normal come this spring, or are we going to have a more muted spring because of interest rates?
I wish I had a magic ball to see the future. I can tell you, I was at an open house in Sunday for a house that was priced around $700,000 in Lincoln, Rhode Island, right off of 146. And within the first hour, there was probably 20 to 30 people there.
Wow.
And we're in January. So I think that, as long as the interest rates do not jump up to like a 7, 8, 9%, which nobody's predicting they will, and I'm not certainly predicting that they will. But as long as they stay around the sixes, there's plenty of transparency with the Fed, and we know what's going to happen. I think that we're still going to have the same obstacles that we had in 2022 in it going into 2023. So I think we're still going to see a lack of inventory. There's still going to be a lot of buyers out there that are ready to purchase, and sellers are going to have to find places to go, and they're going to have to make the decision. Like I mentioned last week, the key in all of this is kind of just budgeting, right? What can you afford with this 6% interest rate? Yes, it's 6% now, but it's not 6% forever. You can refinance. There's buy down options. There's adjustable rates. So it's really important to do your research and make sure.
So is that the crux of the problem, right? Older, traditional home sellers who want to downsize and take some proverbial winnings off the table say, okay, I'm ready to sell my, 4-bedroom Victorian on the east side of Providence. We've lived here for 30 years. The kids went off to college. Now they live somewhere else. We're going to get $1 million. But I have either no mortgage or a very low interest mortgage. And I do the numbers on that, selling that $1 million home. I'm going to pick up a lot of cash for my retirement or for whatever else. And then I go and look at buying that smaller place somewhere else, maybe even out of state. And I look at that interest rate and I go, I'm going to be paying more for less.
Sure. Yeah. That is the reality of this market. When prices have increased dramatically from when people have purchased their homes 10, 20, 30 years ago. And granted, they're walking away with a lot of them, free and clear with a lot of cash in their pocket. If they want to move to a desirable location, in a good area, either in this state or in another state, yeah, that's certainly the situation.
And that cute little bungalow in Patuxent Village now costs $1 million too.
Exactly. It's all about what kind of lifestyle you want, right? If you want to be in a place where a lot's going on, like the east side of Providence, and you want to walk to restaurants and cafes and get your morning coffee at 7 stars, you're paying a premium for it. I'm sorry, there's just no way around it.
So it's functionally a tax on getting a coffee at 7 stars. That's really what you're alluding to, right?
Yeah.
Ben, within your organization, what do you see as sort of the concern areas for 2023, and what are you optimistic about in 2023?
Yeah, so currently the concern areas are certainly lack of inventory. I think that's a general concern across the board for not only our brokerage, but for many brokerages. A lot of agents still have a lot of buyers that are ready to go. Like I just mentioned, they've kind of come to the realization, we're paying 6%, we budgeted, this is what we can buy, let's do it. Like I just said, there was 20 people at an open house within the first hour for a home on Saturday. But I think inventory is going to start to increase going through the year. I just don't, it's not feasible, right, to have, like I mentioned last week, we cannot continue to have 1.5 month of available inventory. It needs to increase. And it's probably going to increase very, very slow. But as long as it gets into that 5 to 6 months worth of inventory range, the market's going to start to balance. That's my prediction. Pull me to it till in 2023. I think we're going to have a much more balanced real estate market.
By the fall, is that your expectation? Kind of by the fall?
I think by the end of the year, for sure.
Yeah. Listen, Ben, thank you. Thanks for these new numbers. These are significant. Shows the state of the market here in Rhode Island. Much appreciate. These just came out, and thank you for sharing them. For everybody else, stay tuned. There has been a lot of news. There was news late last night. GoLocal first reported the tragic death of a Brown University student. Just an awful situation. Followed up with that with a message from the university this morning. Obviously, the FAA had major problems this morning, pretty much freezing the entire flight schedule of the United States. A lot of questions about what took place there. It's coming back online and flights are resuming, but 3-4 hours of flight delays sends this country into an apoplectic moment. We'll have much more. Also, COVID numbers are up significantly. COVID Act now has designated Rhode Island at the high level. So it's really important to get that flu shot and get that last vaccination that matches up with the virus as it is today. So please jump out, run over to CVS or to Walgreens or wherever and make sure you get those shots. You can do them in the same day, and it is important. That's sort of a public service. We like normalcy here at GoLocal and get everybody healthy and back in the game. So everybody stay tuned for much more today. Ben, thanks so much, and we'll have much more as the day goes along. Thanks, everyone.